Hi, everybody. This is Rick Zeiser. I'm the Dean of Admissions here at the University of Hartford, and I'm going to be hosting today's conversation. So I'm just doing a sound check to make sure you can all hear me and to let you know I'm going to just sit tight for a couple of more minutes while people are arriving. So few more minutes and then we'll get started. Once again, if you just joined us, there are still people coming on. I'm just going to wait for just another minute or so, and then we'll get started. So if you just got on and didn't hear my last announcement, we'll begin the presentation in less than 2 minutes. Okay, hi everybody. As I said before, I'm Rick Zeiser. I'm the Dean of Admission at the University of Hartford. And if you had a chance to look at the little video I sent announcing the virtual accepted student days, you know how very badly I wish we were all sitting in a room together so I could see your faces and get a sense of your enthusiasm for starting college in the fall. So we have been doing presentations on a whole bunch of topics that many of you have found of interest, and I'm really happy to know that today's is a really great one because one of the most important things to know about going to college is that so much of the learning that takes place for college students is supplemented outside of the classroom by all kinds of different experiences, and that's the topic for today. So you can see it's hands-on learning and outcomes, and you're going to hear about community partnerships. You're going to hear about opportunities to supplement your learning from the Career Center. And I think I'm going to start by introducing our two panelists. Brooke Penders, who is the director of the Career and Professional Development Center, and Lynn Baronis, who is the director of Strategic Partnerships in Institutional Advancement. And colleagues, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourselves and get the ball rolling, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. As Rick said, I'm Brooke Penders, and it's been my pleasure to run the Career Studio for about the last year and a half. And I do so in partnership with our faculty and staff and people like Lynn to make sure we offer the most robust, dynamic programming we possibly can, introducing students to people in the community, in industry, and hopefully engaging them a great deal with our really talented and connected alumni base. So as you probably saw on a tour at some point, the Career Studio is located in the Gengras Student Union, but a lot of the work that happens because of what you might learn in the Career Studio will happen out and about at various employers. So we like to make sure that you're prepared for internships, experiential education, project work, and hopefully that full-time job or maybe that graduate degree you're looking for when you are done at the University of Hartford. So I'm going to let Lynn introduce herself, and then maybe from there we'll kind of ping pong back and forth and share with you how we work together to bring great programming to you along with our colleagues.
Thank you, Brooke. I really appreciate your introduction. And I want everybody to know that it's really a phenomenal opportunity for me to see Brooke face to face because we do work together.
I know I miss you.
I know I miss you too. We've become good friends. We collaborate very closely. So this is a nice opportunity for us to see each other for the first time in a number of weeks as well. So I have a long title, and I'm going to say it. I'm just going to tell you that I'm kind of overseeing the university's connections with strategic partners, and also ensuring that we have engagement with our partners. I've held that position since 2015, and before that, I spent a couple of years working both in career services and for our alumni engagement department. Before that, I spent a good many years in Hartford practicing law, so this was a big career change for me. But all those skills that I learned as a lawyer certainly are transferable to my job here at the University of Hartford, and I know that's something that Brooke is very focused on, that people's skill sets can be transferred to different opportunities. And I know we'll both be talking about that a little bit more as well. I also want to share with you that I'm the proud parent of a University of Hartford graduate. My daughter Mary graduated from the College of Arts and Sciences in 2017, and she graduated having focused on psychology and pursuing a career in human resources. So there's a little fact for you too. In my role, what I do, as I said, is cultivate relationships with corporations, businesses, industry, not-for-profits, governments, community leaders, so that our students, who hopefully will be you, have an opportunity to really cultivate and hone their academic, entrepreneurial, and career-ready skill sets. And how do we do that? We do that through getting projects from these partners, getting opportunities for maybe setting up a unique class around an issue or challenge that the partner wants to task folks like you to tackle, so that they can get a unique approach to something. We actually have set up classes around problems or challenges that our corporate partners have. We also do internships, which I know Brooke will talk about, and employment opportunities, but there are so many ways that we bring our partners and our partners in the community and not-for-profits into the university to meet with our students face-to-face. And that's really valuable for them. I mean, whenever there's a partnership, it really, truly, to be a partner, you have to have a mutual exchange of benefit. So our mutual exchange of benefit is that they get access to wonderful, talented students who are committed and interested. And what our students get back is the connection, the ability to have hands-on learning, to really begin to grow and understand what it is they want to do with their careers. So I'm going to talk a little bit as time goes on about who our strategic partners are and how we select them, what we look for in a strategic partner, how I work with Brooke and her team in career services and professional development, how we coordinate our partnership work across campus, all of the administrative departments and the academic departments, and how I work with deans and faculty. And finally, I want to be sure that I spend most of my time giving you examples of some of the partnership activities that we've cultivated, Brooke and I together, that I think we're both very proud of. So with that, I'm going to stop my own self-introduction. I just want to tell you, I think you probably will hear it in my voice as this time goes on, that I so enjoy what I do. And one of the things that I love the most is the connection that we make with our students. I have connections with students who graduated back in 2013 who are now my partners. And I'm so proud of that, and I'm so happy to be in contact with them and see how they grow and develop in their career path. So looking forward to your questions, happy to answer them. Back to you.
Let me just jump in here for 1 second and echo what Lynn just said. There's going to be a lot of information that you'll hear, but we are interested in your questions on particularly on the topics discussed today, but on anything that's of interest to you. So use the Q&A function there to throw questions our way, and I will go back into the background.
Thanks, Rick. I have to say that one thing I hear from a lot of people is I'm scared to come into the career studio. I don't necessarily know what I want to do yet. Or on the flip side of that, I know exactly what I want to do. I don't really know that I need your help. So whether you have a fire in your belly for a very specific career path, or you feel as though you kind of have a lot of disparate interests, we can still help you hone in on some things that we hear from recruiters and HR professionals in industry about what they're looking for. So we don't want anyone to be intimidated by coming into the Career Studio. We are also using this very interesting time to make sure our online resources are more robust. So in case you are awake at 2 a.m. and thinking about career, because I know I do that, you might be able to then go online and find some resources that are appropriate to about what you might be concerned with. So we often will be talking about big, broad issues like your resume, your LinkedIn profile, or taking a personality and skills and interest inventory. So we have a lot of online resources, but the Career Studio is a place to come in and kind of be in community with other people and talk about what the results of perhaps that personality test was, or have somebody else take a look at your resume. Hear from experts, often our alums, who have some advice about how to pursue a career path whether it be in the Connecticut area or in New England, or we have alums everywhere. So I just want everyone to know that no matter where you are, whether you think you're kind of ahead of the game or whether you feel like you might be really behind in terms of thinking about where you want to be post-graduation, you're always welcome in the studio. And in partnership with faculty, staff, and people like Lynn and industry, we always try and bring you some unique perspectives that hopefully you'll walk away thinking as though it was time well spent.
So does it help for you guys to kick this off to sort of have Brooke and me give you some examples of some of the partnerships and some of the activities that we've cultivated that our students are involved in? I think that might generate some questions. I think one of the ones that we're both most proud of is a partnership that we have with Stanley Black & Decker, which is a manufacturing. You know, Stanley Black & Decker does the power tools, a lot of other things, but Stanley's basically known for hammers and power tools and equipment like that. Stanley is a huge supporter of the University of Hartford, and Stanley has collaborated with Techstars, which is a company which oversees startups and entrepreneurs and helps them learn how to get their businesses off the ground. So Stanley and Techstars actually opened in downtown Hartford what's called Manufactory 4.0, and it's really an innovation hub located on Constitution Plaza. And Stanley each year brings in, they go around the world and they find startup companies and entrepreneurs, they interview them and they bring them back to Hartford for a period of 3 months each fall. Last year, they brought 10 startups from at least 7 or 8 different countries to Hartford. They came in September, they left in December, and in between all of that, they were very busy getting their startup businesses off the ground and connecting and networking here in Hartford with the industries. I think the 2 topics, correct me if I'm wrong, were sustainability and advanced manufacturing last year. So we have over the years, this coming fall will be the 3rd year that Stanley and Techstars has brought a cohort into Constitution Plaza, but we've been building our partnership with them so that last year, so exciting, I'm trying to make sure, I took notes on this because I want to be sure I hit on everything for you guys. The students went down and they toured the Manufactory 4.0, which is an amazing place to go. If you ever get a chance to do it, there's so much Internet of Things, there's so much technology, so much advanced manufacturing, all kinds of data collection things going on down there. So our students have toured the Manufactory 4.0. Stanley and Techstars leaders have come to campus and they spoke with our students in the Career Studio. A couple of the entrepreneurs talked about their packaging. Right, Brooke?
Yes.
Yep.
The poppable spices. If any of you are familiar with buying large bottles of spices and how quickly they sometimes go bad before you can even get through them. So this 2 young women who were not at all involved in the spice world, just because of their own cooking experiences, decided they wanted to pre-package in small amounts spices. So they started to do the research. And they have now been supported and are actually talking in conversation with quite a few large manufacturers. You might see these very small, as she called them, kinesthetically pleasing and poppable packaging where you can just pop out just what you need for that one dish instead of spending a lot of money on something else. So they kind of saw a need, they explored that, they worked with mentors, as Lynn said, through Stanley, and then launched on their own and decided to start their business in Hartford. So they came here from elsewhere and are developing roots here. So our partnership with them is going to be something that isn't just one-off. Hopefully it will become perennial and our students will have the opportunity to see them over and over again.
Yeah, the partnership grows each year. We had, and it covers, the thing that I think we really pride ourselves on is that our partnerships cover not just one of our colleges. We try really hard to make sure our partnerships touch on multiple colleges. So Stanley Black & Decker, we actually had the Techstars digital media director come and do a class with our School of Communication students. And so when the time came for Stanley and Techstars to do their demo day, now their demo day is like Shark Tank-like pitch night. in Bushnell Auditorium down in Hartford. It's a big deal. There's a lot of video in the background. The students who came, who are school of communication students, actually had an insight into how all that video technology was prepared before they went. And we're always proud that we have at least a bus full, if not more, of students who go to Stanley Black & Decker Techstars Demo Day. This past year, we had a bunch of students, I think we had 10 of them, who served as ambassadors, who actually worked the event, got to meet the entrepreneurs, got to see them rehearse. It's pretty amazing. So
it's one of the advantages of being in a smaller city like Hartford, where it's about 2.5 miles away from campus to go down to this beautiful performing arts center. But it's also a growing advanced manufacturing location in America, and incredibly well respected in the areas of financial services and insurance. So it doesn't take you too long to get much of anywhere in Hartford, yet there's a lot of robust employers and industry where you can take advantage of opportunities like Lynn just mentioned, whether it's going and learning about something that you're not even sure you're interested in or not, or really digging in deep into some areas where you know you have a passion. So we're excited about our partnerships in Hartford, Stanley Black & Decker being among the top. But I just think it's great that Hartford is such a vibrant, growing area for people to do business. So whether you're looking to be an accountant or in financial services or insurance, or you think you might want to start your own company, or you're really involved in the performing and the visual arts, Hartford has a lot to offer in all of those ways. So we make sure through our partnership together and with the community, we expose all of our students as best we can to all of those. I saw questions come in. If you don't mind, I'll take one. I think I covered previously. Someone mentioning, I kind of really already know what I want to do. Can you help me with that? And yeah, we can. I think it is especially good to make sure that your resume is kind of focused on what the industry trends are in those areas, and then making sure we connect you with alums so you can start building a network on LinkedIn and in person. So I would highly recommend, if you think you know exactly what you want to do, come see us early and we can start helping you plan a path for what you might want to do for your time at the University of Hartford to ensure you're going to have a great opportunity once graduation.
So I see that there have been some questions about our partnerships with Disney and Pratt & Whitney, and I want to talk about Pratt & Whitney particularly because Pratt has been a phenomenal partner of ours. They have been one of our primary providers of projects for students to work on. Our College of Engineering, Technology, and Architecture always has an Expo Day, and that's the culmination of working on projects and presenting results. And throughout the semester, they work with mentors from Pratt & Whitney on those projects so that they get to know those folks. Pratt & Whitney also sponsors a scholarship for non-traditional students, and that's a process that we can get you more information on. But if you do receive a Pratt & Whitney scholarship, you are connected with Pratt & Whitney folks as mentors. Again, that's always a great thing because you have a chance. It's another person to talk to about an area that you might want to go into. I think Disney, I know, Brooke, that we've had some students interning at Disney.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
We have a great program, and it's actually it was a growing program. Last I checked, I have someone on my team who manages that. And because Disney is such an enormous company and also now is tied to and owns ESPN, it's not just for our performing arts students, which I think is where the relationship began, is we would send a lot of our performing arts students to the parks to perform. And not only is that just in parks now, that was in cruise ships in a variety of ways. So we are consistently and aggressively exploring all of the different ways. And it's a large company. They need accountants. They need social media interns. They need almost everything. And that's one of the real pleasures of working with major organizations, is they're usually not looking for just one kind of student with one skill set. We are able to help identify students from all walks of education that help fit their business needs. And companies like Disney are often looking at an internship as an opportunity to test out students because they would really like to convert those students to full-time employees. So sometimes those interviews are rather rigorous, and you need to kind of get in on them early. So the earlier you make your way into the Career Studio, the earlier we can help you make sure your resume is ready, that your experience is up to par, that your on-campus involvement reflects everything you want it to. So, yeah, Disney is one of those great companies. Not that everybody wants to go to a park, but there are lots of other opportunities, especially in Hartford, New York, and Los Angeles.
Hey, Brooke, I got a question here that may stretch us a little bit, but I know that there is a real emerging relationship with Hartford Healthcare. Can you talk, if somebody's asking about how that will affect our students in healthcare programs like physical therapy and the like?
Sure. I'm going to let, if you don't mind, Lynn, can you talk about the overarching relationship, the strategic partnership there, and then I can talk about some of the employment pathways.
Yes, absolutely. We've expanded our relationship with Hartford Healthcare. Only recently the partnership was announced. We are partnering with them in all sorts of ways, not only in terms of getting experiences for our students, but Hartford Healthcare is the provider of medical services here on campus now. Hartford Healthcare also is working, doing physical therapy, working with our athletics department. And they are a prime supporter of our new academic building, which we hope will open in the fall of which we expect will open in the fall of 2021. So that relationship has expanded beyond anyone's imagination, and we're very excited about it.
Hartford Healthcare is an ongoing participant in many of our events and programs that happen in the Career Studio. We do a career fair. We also do something called Resume Bootcamp, which helps students get some one-on-one feedback from industry experts in a non-interview kind of way. It's a very casual kind of interaction, but it has resulted in some networking and then some internships and then some jobs as well. So a lot of those people are alums or people who are just really interested in taking advantage of the skill set that our students gain, you know, from our smaller classes that we offer at the University of Hartford. They've come to know our students, know how well prepared they are, and want to keep them engaged and living here in the greater Hartford area. So people from the Hartford Healthcare are on campus a lot, and we are able to reach out to them for many reasons. For our connections.
And I'll add that that beyond Hartford Healthcare, there are many providers that that give opportunities for our students in the health professions to get practical experience. I personally know that my daughter is just finishing the master's degree in prosthetics and orthotics. And there are opportunities literally all over the country for those students. But we have students in the Rad Tech program in respiratory care, and they're doing experiences in acute care hospitals and in the community and in nursing, all kinds of settings with many partners, but certainly Hartford Healthcare is a big player on our campus now.
I received 8 emails this week alone from hospitals looking to engage upcoming graduates for a lot of the jobs that are opening up.
What other questions do you guys have in your queue there? I did have a question earlier while you're looking on a, I'll say unrelated, but it's you know, in the big umbrella of out of class, and it was about opportunities to do music and things if you're not in the Hart School. So if any of you are interested in that, I'll tell you that all of the performing groups in the Hart School, our Performing Arts College, do open auditions for participation. So if you're a serious musician, you can literally audition for the symphony orchestra. On the other hand, if you want maybe the responsibility and burden of things at that higher level, the Hart School has something called the Community Division, allows students to do music, serious music, take lessons, sing in a choir, dance, play in an ensemble, anything like that. There is also a very active drama club. So if you want to perform in plays and you're not in the theater or music theater program, that club is just for you. There are a number of a cappella groups. There is a comedy, Stop Laughing Mom, which is a comedy troupe. So there are many performing opportunities for students in all kinds of settings away from being a student in the Hart School. Other questions?
Rick, I saw a question about is there a place where we can find a list of partners that UHart is collaborating with? And I wanted to answer that question. So if you go onto the website and you search under strategic partnerships, you'll see a page that has this lovely picture of me. And there's also on the left a link, drop down with partners. And so you will see partners. It's not every partner that we have, but it gives you a good flavor for who our partners are. I would also encourage you, whatever college you're interested in, each college has in its own page or its own section of the website a listing of the partners that they're currently engaged with. So again, none of these lists are comprehensive. They just give you a flavor.
Rick, I saw a question from someone asking about the whether or not international internships are allowed.
Please.
I think that will depend on what school you're in. I do know that there are some programs like the Barney School that require an internship. And I know that there are programs like accounting where general accounting practices don't necessarily translate overseas. So we like to work with faculty to try and find an answer and a way to get to yes, but not always possible. So I can't really give you a blanket answer about international internships. I don't see them all that often. It doesn't mean they're not possible, but it's something that we would have to work together on. You, faculty and staff, and perhaps the career office and the international office, of course, to see what we can do. So we're amenable to that, but I can't really give you a yes or no answer.
Okay. What else? What are some of the companies that students from the Hartford Art School have gone to work with? What kind of jobs do they get? You know, you guys may have things to add to that, but the art school has an amazing presentation that I saw that that kind of changed my whole notion about what an art school education is. It really did. And one of the most shocking things they said at the beginning was, you know, the relatively small number of graduates who quote unquote are doing art as their profession because an arts education and an art background is in demand by corporations of all types. Somebody said to me, go stand in Times Square and look around and tell me that art isn't important in business today. Of course, if you'd be in Times Square today, you'd be by yourself. But but yeah, all the advertising. I know that we have art students. One really cool job was an art student who was doing the cleats for the players in the NFL. who are allowed to publicize causes and charities that they're interested in. There's an art student that is illustrating prosthetics according to what a patient might want. So do you have more to add about what kinds of jobs art graduates are getting?
I can do a little bit of that. So
Okay.
a lot of the art students I know are graphic designers, work in the creative departments at advertising and PR firms. One fine arts grad is actually the head of brand for Victoria's Secret Body. There are, of course, curators and illustrators for books. People who worked on movie sets, people who work in television. I could go on here forever and ever and ever, quite honestly. And some people found that they also had a capacity for data visualization. So which is a huge area, if you can have some kind of role in the data collection, analysis, and visualization world, you will never be without a job. So people with an idea who can take some numbers and make it look pretty, so to speak, for a presentation, for a brochure, for an annual report, you name it. So I think a lot of our students are finding that their analytical minds married with their artistic skills, it's an incredibly marketable area for them to be going into.
I was in a meeting. It wasn't what I expected. It was an accreditation meeting for the architecture program. And one of the visiting professionals, when we were talking, I said to her, "So what exactly do you do?" And she said, "I work for Disney." And I said, "Doing what?" And she said, "Conceiving of the next thing." And I said, well, she happened to be a civil engineer. And I said, well, how do you do that? And she said, well, we have a department that thinks about what the next thing is, and then we try and visualize it as a physical entity. And she said, I bet you'd have a bunch of very talented art students here who would be perfect for a thing like that, because what art education graduates bring to the table is a creative angle about how they think and how they problem solve. And she said, yeah, I happen to be a civil engineer, but this department is filled with people that have art backgrounds in. So that's a lot about jobs for art school graduates.
Can I add one more thing, Rick?
Yeah, please.
So, yeah, I think I want whoever that was that asked that question to know that the University of Hartford has a terrific partnership with 5 Points Gallery out in Torrington. And this partnership is unique because 5 Points Gallery only accepts applications from University of Hartford Art School graduates to come and spend two years. There's a space above their gallery. There are a bunch of individual studios. They have cohorts that come in each year for 2 years. So for something like $40 a month, if you're accepted into the program, you have a studio to go to. So many students, when they graduate, end up setting up their studios in their parents' basements or in a garage. Here you can go, if you're accepted into the program, out to an art gallery where you can work on your work, and then you can also make connections with the artists who exhibit in the gallery, and you can learn about how a gallery runs. They also have an exhibit hall just for the folks who are part of that cohort. So that's another interesting opportunity you would have if you came to University of Hartford.
Yeah, somebody put in the queue here rock bands, and I'm going to guess that that's rock bands with a question mark, and I'm going to guess that is, can you do that? And I will tell you, over in the Hart School, on more than one occasion, I have been told by faculty there, if you're a musician, walk around the building, and especially when it comes to jazz, and you hear music, open the door and walk in, and they will tell you to sit down, start playing, and if you're good, they'll tell you to to be part of the place and stay. If you need a little bit of more experience, they'll tell you how to get that too. But it is a place where lots of those rooms are unlocked open doors, and if you're a musician, walk in, sit down, and join in. That's what I've been told. No one would dare say that to me if I was walking around there, but
you could sit.
But people who are good can do that. So.
And one of the things that I know Brooke and I have both supported in the past 2 years, we have an assistant professor of music, of the music industry, Gabe Herman, who has been cultivating a partnership with Pandora. And basically what has happened is he's pulled together over 150 of our students to come together in teams of 5 to compete for either an opportunity. The first year it was an opportunity to put together a playlist that would be selected by Pandora and actually played on their channel. And this past year, it was teams coming together to compete for the opportunity to work on a project as a team with mentoring from some of the companies that you know best in the field, like Bose, Google, Fender, Dolby, on a collaborative project, and get 5 hours of mentoring from the folks and executives in those companies each week. So that's kind of an exciting partnership and opportunity to have some hands-on interaction as well.
Yeah, Lynn, you bring up a really good point, and it somewhat answers a question that's been posed about, like, how do I get introduced to these people so I can get internships? Mm-hmm. Or do you have a list? I think one question was, do you provide opportunities for work so we can choose which companies to work for? We do hear of, like, part-time job opportunities and other things, and we will post for those. But when it comes to internships and finding opportunities within a very specific area that interests you, we want to be able to introduce you to people, bring in speakers, connect you with our alums. But I have to say that we can only bring you so far. We can help make sure your resume is in good shape. We can introduce you to people. We can help you with mock interviews. So all that we can do, but we also need you to come to the table and put yourself out there. Start building your LinkedIn profile. Go into events on campus where our alums are. Taking advantage of the opportunities that Lynn mentioned when we are busing people down into downtown Hartford to hear from and learn from people in industry. So we do have a lot of postings. We use Handshake, which is an online portal for internship and job openings. And that's great, but everybody needs, I think, to put themselves out there a little more. And some students are really ready, willing, and able to go in and march in and introduce themselves and talk to people. Some students aren't, and we need to work with those students. That's why we're there. We can help more introverted students learn some tips and tricks about how to work in networking events. So we do try and provide as many opportunities for you, but I can't say that there's a list of internships where everyone can come in and choose and apply and get that. We wish it was that easy, but we do build these relationships so that you have a chance to practice all of the skills that you're going to learn in the classroom, in the career studio, and start practicing for that day when you'll be looking for that next thing.
And I also know that there are a lot of the clubs and a lot of the colleges have specific networking programs. For instance, I know the Barney School of Business has what they call the mocktail, where you actually come in at 50 people can register. You come in, you sign up, and you get an assumed identity when you come in. You're not yourself. You're Jim Jones. You are a book collector. You live by yourself with your mother, and you get facts, you get your name tag that says that that's who you are, and then you have to go and you have to network as an assumed identity with these facts that you've been assigned. There are people from corporations that are in and out kind of watching, And then we all gather together and give feedback to the group about what networking skills worked really well. And because it is assigned identities, it's set up ahead of time so that there is always a way for you to connect with somebody in the room. So it's a really fun activity. We actually have food there. So you learn how to balance having a non-alcoholic beverage with some food while you're talking to somebody. You get business cards that are fake that you get to hand out. And so it's really a fun activity.
So I have a question here, and it's about hands-on learning in biology, and I have a cool story, and it's almost exactly set up by this question. So there was a student that I got to know when she was a senior, who started at the University of Hartford as a French horn performance major. And she was from the Cape Cod, and her goal in life was to play for the Boston Pops. And she said that in the first semester of her sophomore year, she decided that not only was she not going to play for the Boston Pops, but that she actually wasn't the best French horn player in the Hart School. So she said her second interest, which was quite strong, was to become, believe it or not, become a veterinarian. And she had taken some of her electives in science. And this question that I'm answering here is about, opportunities in the sciences. So she went over to the biology department, and one of the professors, is a vet, and said to her, okay, I have a research project that I am involved in that has to do with sharks and taking tissue samples from them and having somehow that told you about the ecosystem and things. Anyway, this student jumped in with both feet, and actually, as is not uncommon in the sciences, got her name as a collaborator with Joanna on a paper that she did. And fast forward now, this is about 4 years ago, she's a senior at the University of Florida Veterinary Medicine School. So not only are there opportunities for you to do hands-on real research with people in the sciences, but this is actually a student who, like whoever asked this question, wanted to be a vet, and switched from French horn performance to veterinary medicine with that opportunity. There was a mom I was chatting with the other day whose son wants to be an epidemiologist, and says that he wanted to do this before COVID, and that's fine. And I queried a friend of mine who's a professor over in biology, and he said, oh yeah, I have a project going right now on staph bacteria and how, what lifestyle habits promote the infection of this, and I have 4 undergraduate students working on this. It's going to turn out to be a paper and a presentation. So I will say that if you're in the sciences, there's another question I just see here. Can I get admission to Uconn Medical School if I graduate from the University of Hartford? We actually have somebody going to Uconn Medical School this fall. Almost all of the successful applicants to medical and veterinary schools can walk away from the University of Hartford with significant experience in labs and research with professors in the sciences. But partly that's because, I'm going on here a little bit, but partly that's because we don't have advanced degrees for the most part in biology or chemistry. So the faculty, out of necessity, and it works out really well for our undergraduates, will look around in their classes and hope that some of the science students who are interested will come forward and say, I want to do something. There's so many opportunities in there, and I'm sure that you both have other stories about students in the sciences that got their careers advanced by things that they're doing with our faculty.
Brooke, you're on mute.
Plus still employed somewhere, and it's kind of amazing to see what they know, how they're connected, and how anxious they are to kind of bring that knowledge to our students. So in addition to what Lynn does, what I do, and then in partnership with our faculty, we can often find a lot of different ways for students to explore their interests. Internships tend to be something that happens the summer after your junior year, but that's not always the case. I've met a few freshmen who come in having already had one. It's rare, but it does happen. I think we're starting to kind of go by, it's not such a rule anymore that you only have an internship after your junior year. I think you really can have them in a lot of different years. You just need to be prepared for it and really be ready to take on the kind of work that they want. I think they're less concerned about age as they are about your commitment and how ready you are to take on those jobs. So, and our faculty just does a great job of helping to identify those students and those opportunities.
And also, I think it's important to be making those connections. You know, we talked about networking a little bit. We, at one point, had a tour of what's now Trinity Health of New England, St. Francis Hospital. Several of our students who were very interested in pursuing a career in medicine, and one of those students connected up with the chief of medicine there. He had further conversations with her. He connected her with a colleague who was doing research in a field she was interested in, and I just saw on LinkedIn she has taken a high-ranking senior job in the federal government on health management in the very area she wanted to go into because she got to do that research. So I guess I would say, you know, Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, do one thing every day that scares you. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and ask those questions and make those connections, because that one link really changed the trajectory of her life. And, you know, we can give you lots of opportunities, but you have to grab them and run with them. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's one thing that's really hard for some of us in the Career Studio to remember is that meeting a student and then knowing someone and wanting to make a connection for them, you know, I could send off an email and probably introduce some students to dozens of people, but instead I encourage our students to get their LinkedIn profiles up, link in with me, start building a relationship with me on LinkedIn, and then we can kind of go to me making some introductions to them for them, depending on the work that they've done in the studio and how else they've been able to demonstrate what they're capable of. So instead of just doing the work for students, and I say this to you parents as well, giving our students the tool and then pushing them in the direction of being able to try networking. Now, it might be scary, but make them do that. We try and do that a lot. So I am a big fan of making sure that, like you said, Lynn, do something scary every day. If that's asking someone to link in on LinkedIn, good for you. If it's going to a networking event, we can help kind of, you know, assuage your fear there by coming to some of our events.
I have a question here of a practical nature, and it has to do with next steps for students who have made the decision to join us in the fall. We're in the process of rethinking, I guess, and reconfiguring what orientation is going to look like, be like, depending on how the summer unfolds. And I think the best advice I can give on this question is just to stay tuned. I will tell you, by the way, for anybody that decides that they want to come to the University of Hartford in the fall, let me just mention two things about the enrollment process. The first thing is, if you have decided that you want to join us at the University of Hartford in the fall, and you are prepared and able to make your admission deposit by May 1st, I would encourage you to do that. And just hang on for a second, because I know the next question. That's because we want to engage as many of our new students as possible in the orientation process as early as possible. Now, two things to add to that. One is, and if you do that, and who knows what happens over the summer, so that your plans change and you are going to decide not to come to the University of Hartford in the fall, this year those deposits will be refundable. Second thing is, some of you are saying, well, I think that I want to come to the University of Hartford, but I'm just not going to have all the information I need by May 1st. That's okay too. We understand that. There's nothing normal about these times, and no one's admission offer or financial aid is going to be canceled on May 2nd. Okay, so we will do everything we can through programs like this to give you information. But again, if you decide you are going to come with us and you can make the deposit by May 1st, it'll just help get you in the orientation process, however that's going to unfold. And we'll be keeping in contact with you over the course of the summer. I don't know, other questions here.
Hey, Rick, can I ask someone?
Go ahead.
Someone asked, what percentage of internship opportunities transition to full-time work? Boy, don't I wish I knew. So we are working on being better about collecting data and tracking that. By having all of our students activate their accounts on Handshake and sharing news of their internships, we know when students get internships through us, but we don't know when students get internships because they've activated other social connections they might have, other professional connections they might have. So we are trying really hard to make sure that we can kind of report that number in the future. So Handshake is one good way to find and help us track that. And then we're also just going to find engaging ways for students to share their stories with us. We think that that's one thing that we sometimes all go off for the summer, do our thing, and then come back and don't really ever talk and share what people learned in their internships. So in the Career Studio, we're wanting to make it possible for students who had a really great internship to come in and share with others, especially perhaps freshmen and sophomores, about what that experience is like. And it's not always pretty. And I think that's important for people to hear, is that sometimes they went into an internship thinking that it was going to be one thing and it wasn't. And now they've come out and said, I don't think I want to do that. And that's actually a good thing. You can cross that off your list. You know you don't want to do that anymore. And that's part of the learning. So I wish I had a number where I could say X number of students get a full-time job after having an internship somewhere. I can tell you that students who have internships in general do find it easier to find a job post-graduation, oftentimes with an employer, especially if you're talking about financial services. Our accounting department has a wonderful placement rate. I think it's about 100%, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty darn close to it. So depends on the industry, but we'd like to be able to provide more details about the correlation between internships and full-time employment.
So I'll put on my dad hat again for a second and talk about that. So my daughter had an internship over the summer at Boston Children's Hospital in prosthetics, and her advisor said to her and all of the students, you all need to understand that this is a 6-week job interview. It's much more than an internship. So she and a lot of her classmates went off and did their internships. And fortunately for her, it was a place that she liked. So she applied for a job there and didn't hear for a while, and then heard from the HRD person who said, we wanted to make an offer to you, and let us tell you that it is completely based on the internship that you did here last summer. And because everybody in the department knew you, we did interview other people, and the judgment that we were making is this person better than the University of Hartford student that we had last summer? And it turns out that their answer was no. But there is one story, and there are so many, especially in healthcare. I know another student who's in the Rad Tech program, who I was talking to the other day, and she's on the front line of the corona pandemic, because what she does is take chest x-rays when people come in to see if they have pneumonia and what's up with their lungs. And she sent me a picture of herself decked out, and if you look closely, you can see my eyes. But she got hired from the clinical, the clinical internship that she did. So as you talked about accounting and other areas, it almost doesn't matter. I think that the advice that the one professor gave, which is consider this a job interview, is really, really good advice.
Yeah, it is good advice.
Hey, can I jump in here, folks, and answer the question about hands-on learning opportunities for mechanical engineering students?
Oh, thank goodness, yes.
I know of a few things. The one thing that I think we're very proud of is we have a Makerspace, and there will be a larger Makerspace in our new academic building when it opens, so students have access to go in and work with the tools and the facilities. If you've been here on a tour, you may have seen it. We also have projects for our freshmen who come in, and they again get to work on projects that come from industry. And then I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I know that when I go on tours with the Dean of CETA, with our partners, he's always telling our partners that we give all of our freshmen a robotics kit to start building. So there's hands-on work with robotic. It's a little tiny robot that gets pulled together. So I think really there are a lot of opportunities. That's just a flavor of 3 of them. And in terms of the employers, we have a really full relationship with Pratt & Whitney, full-on relationship. We have a very vibrant alumni group at Pratt & Whitney. We are very close to Electric Boat, and also we have a partnership with the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology over in East Hartford, CCAT, which has its own advanced manufacturing facility that students can go and use all of that stuff that is way beyond me. I know what a 3D printer is, but the 3D printers they have there, you can't imagine. It's amazing the things that they can do at that place. We have relationships with smaller manufacturing companies, Mott Corporation, Bauer. So we have a very healthy network of manufacturing companies where mechanical engineering graduates can seek a future.
Our own engineering people, I understand, are making PPEs and masks and things out of the 3D printer on campus.
Absolutely.
They're also making them down in the prosthetics lab because they have sewing machines down there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we ended up taking the 3D printers and moving them to the faculty's homes so that they could make, I'm working with them on this project, so they made 100 face covers that will be donated to Cigna nurses who are out in the field, we hope either Friday or Monday.
So I have a question here that is, what are all of your electrical engineering programs? I guess this is a general. So I'm told that electrical engineers work with things that are very big and things that are very small. So if you live in the area, we had a storm the other day, and the pre-storm buildup was be prepared for power outages because it's going to be very windy. And electrical engineers work on big things like generating power to keep the lights on in all of our homes. That's one area of electrical engineering. They also work on very small things that are, way smaller than your cell phone, and almost everything that you have now has, microcircuits in it and everything else. So electrical engineering students can choose between them. There's also a program in computer engineering. So I think the answer to that question is you need to choose as to whether you want to get into the big fields of generating power and things like that, or the fields of computers and other kinds of really small pieces of electronics.
Yeah. Rick, this brings up something that reminds me of something, and I hope you don't mind if I chime in here. But in the engineering department especially, we have some fantastic faculty that take, theory and the practice that happens in the lab and actually takes it out into the community, and oftentimes internationally. We have a professor who goes and takes a lot of our engineering students, engineerings of all different kinds, and happens to build water systems in places that don't have them. There was one town that when the power came on is the only time that the water works. And so then residents had to race in at that point, grab what they could, and then if the power went out again, there was no way to get water anymore. So University of Hartford engineers came up with a way to collect the water, store the water, more appropriately manage the influx of the electricity that was pumping the water out. It's an absolutely fascinating story, and I've heard 3 different kinds of engineers talk about their experience on these trips. So not only do they have, I think, the vision of a professor who wants to help them apply them, but they also apply them in countries and communities of need, locally, regionally, and internationally. So I think that's a great example of all the different ways you can get some hands-on experience in something you're really passionate about.
So what's really cool also about those projects that I was told about was in one case anyway, David Pines, who took a group to Africa, said to me, and I took 2 students with me who were from the liberal arts. One was sociology and one was philosophy, I think he told me. And the reason was, he said, it's sort of like this law of unintended consequences. For thousands of years, delivering water to the village has been a job of manual labor, mostly for the women in the village. And he said, so we're about to go in and disrupt their whole way of life, hopefully in a positive way, by bringing water to them in the manner that you mentioned. But okay, so what are you going to do now with your life now that you don't need to carry water? And the idea was in projects like this, there are students who in this case aren't engineers, but were very much involved in the changes that were going to occur as a result of the engineering improvements that were being brought to them. So there's it's really big thinking. Well, I would have never thought of that, but there it is.
And it's amazing, Rick, because I think that's something that we really pride ourselves on, which is, I've said it before, right? Learning opportunities that pull together students from different colleges. So the engineers learn from those who are studying sociology, who learn from those who are studying business. We put everybody together on a project. You know what? It's almost like there's not a better way to get ready for that first job, because when you get to your job, everybody's going to have a different skill set, and you're going to have to learn to work in a team. And I know, Brooke, you're really hot on making sure that our students have an opportunity to gain the NACE skill sets, right, the competencies. And teamwork is so important. So projects like that, where you're learning to travel, you're learning to travel in a group, but you're also learning substance about the different areas and cross-sharing what you know. Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Are there other questions we haven't answered yet?
I see one, Rick, about can the makerspace be used outside of classes? And yes, it is. It's designed for that, particularly. I think they have the hours that get really long when we get up to the end of the semester and people are getting all their projects ready. They just need to make sure that there's a faculty member or someone in the room at the time. But it's open. It's not just affiliated with classwork. It's for you if you have ideas you want to bring in, if you have innovative ideas you want to bring in. It's open very long hours. Sometimes students study in the makerspace as well. So yes, it can be used outside of classes.
Yeah. Rick, I'm seeing some questions about some specific internship opportunities based on people's areas of interest or their majors. I'm going to just say blanket. We are willing to talk with all kinds of students no matter what your major is. We try and provide as many opportunities through handshake and studio presentations so that people feel as though they have some good connections. But even if students are wanting to strategize one-on-one about their areas of interest, we will have some open studio time where students can just come in and chat with members of the staff as well as peer mentors. So I can't say specifically that I know a lot about biochemistry crime lab internships, but I'm positive that we would know someone who could explore that further with students and possibly even
Al DiChiara.
There we go.
Yep. In criminal justice, whoever that person is, if you write me to my email, zeiser at hartford.edu, I'll connect you with faculty from criminal justice, who incidentally, he has the best stories about students in that field and internships and things like that. So
thanks, Rick.
Okay.
He also knows the best places to eat in the greater Hartford area.
He does, and he says it's because it's where the cops eat.
Yeah. That's a great.
Yep. Are there other questions, or I guess I should say we'll keep talking as long as there's questions. On the other hand, if we have exhausted the folks who are watching, go ahead.
No, I do see a question here. There was someone. Does the Career Studio just help students who are looking for careers after college, or do we try and help support students who are seeking masters or PhDs? Absolutely. We will help you develop a CV, a personal statement. We can put you in touch with alums who have gone through the graduate school process. We do have a graduate program, not necessarily in all of it, that don't correlate to all of our undergraduate programs, but we want to see all of our students be successful, and we know that might mean a career right after school, and we know that might mean some more school. So yes, absolutely. The Career Studio is on hand and available to help students who are exploring graduate studies.
You know, Brooke had mentioned going on LinkedIn and linking up with her. I would invite you to link up with me as well. And when you're on my page, look to see one of the postings that I put up features a story about Dave Engelhardt, who is an alum of University of Hartford, who is an entrepreneur. He's developed a product called ReadyDoc, which is right on the front lines of all the hospitals fighting the coronavirus battle. His ReadyDoc is a station that goes on nurses and doctors right in the hospital. You can take your cell phone, you put it into the Ready Dock, and ultraviolet rays sterilize your cell phone. And we have been working with him forever, with Dave, and he regularly takes on University of Hartford students as interns. There are a lot of interns who have learned a lot of rolling up their sleeves and hands-on contribution to Ready Dock. So University of Hartford, in a big way, has sort of really contributed to the fight through our friend Dave Engelhardt as well. So take a look at that if you go to my page.
Okay. Did you just get another question, Brooke? Just trying to gauge what's...
Let's see, how do internships work into our class schedule? Do they count for class? Let's see, so how your internships work with your classes always kind of depends upon your major, your professors, the school you are in. But that's something that we can help you to navigate. As I mentioned, the Barney School requires them. Lots of people will work with a professor to create an internship for credit, and other people just do an internship because they want the experience and it might not be applicable to their course load right now. I've seen it work out all of those ways, and we can help you figure that out, and so can your professors. And we work closely with them. So we always want to try and make it work as best we can.
Do people do internships over the summer?
Yes.
That's a way that the class schedule won't interfere.
Yes, definitely. Actually, most internships, I would say, are usually done over the summer. We are seeing more and more outside the clinical space. We are seeing more school year opportunities. You just need to make sure that you're the kind of person who have the kind of schedule that can accommodate whatever the required adjustments are of the employer.
Yep. Let's see, with your strategic partnerships with the city of Hartford. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this. Okay. Do you, Brooke and Lynn, have any final thoughts on areas that weren't touched on with the questions that have come in?
I've got one maybe closing-ish thought.
Okay.
I went to college quite a while ago, and in hindsight, I don't think I even knew where our career center was. I went to a very large state university, and in hindsight, I think I did an okay job navigating it myself, but boy, would I have loved to have had the opportunity to engage with alums, to have been exposed to industries outside of kind of my very narrow focus. I think it just would have really helped me think bigger and broader and maybe honed in on a few things a little sooner. I probably would have learned a little bit more about myself and maybe where some of my skills and interests could have naturally taken me. So when you all land on campus in the fall, I highly recommend you come and see us and get a sense for what we're capable of doing and how we can help to serve you. And even if you just take bits and pieces of what we can do for you and take advantage of those, that's great. Some of you might dig in deep and come to everything. Some of you we might see once. But as long as you know that we're there to serve you when you need it, and maybe even more often than you think you need it, I think the University of Hartford deserves a lot of credit for putting a lot of space and resources right there in the student space, so you can come by and be exposed to so many opportunities right here in the Hartford area, but also regionally and nationally. So kudos to President Woodward for really believing that having a robust career center is a good place to rest some resources. So.
Yeah, and I guess I want to close by saying that, our partners are great. We have wonderful hands-on learning experiences for all of you. I am also in GSU up on the third floor. If you have anything, if you have a partner you'd like to talk about or you want to suggest that we should connect with, come and see me. But I want to also stress that while our partners with our classes and with your majors, if you have a passion that we can relate to a partner, you can do that too. A graduating senior this year is passionate is an understatement about plastics recycling. And we were able to connect him up with our friends at Coca-Cola, and together they were going to, he actually did have a table in GSU where he was telling everybody and teaching everybody about what's recyclable and what isn't. We were going to have a trash on lawn event, but for the coronavirus. And SGA really has stepped in and supported his passion now and connected and working on a plastics recycling plan for the university. All because there was one student who had such a strong feeling about how important that is. So partners can be enlisted, engaged in all kinds of ways. And I want you to think broadly about that. And I want you not to be afraid to come and ask.
So I'll just answer a quick question that was here, and then I want to have a few closing remarks. There's a question about, I guess I'll call them accelerated graduate degree programs. And we have many of those. Some of the programs have a master's degree or a doctoral degree built into the program right from the start. And some of them offer opportunities to accelerate that. So you can do that in the business school, you can do that in architecture, you can do that in engineering and communication. The most important thing about that is if you are going to try and accelerate a master's degree, let's say, and try and do it in 4 years or 5 years, the best thing to do is if you have that idea coming in, when you meet with your advisor to go over course selections, as early on as you can, tell your advisor that you're interested in at least thinking about pursuing an accelerated degree program. The reason they have to know that is because it may involve taking courses over the summer. It may involve taking courses in a winter term or things like that. But virtually every graduate degree that we have has a path to it that that can accelerate the progress toward that degree. So I'm going to put up one last screen here, and it has the admission email address, which is admissionos@hartford.edu. The career studio is career@hartford.edu. And financial aid is FINAID, finaid@hartford.edu. We are closely monitoring our email accounts. So if you email us an admission or the Career Studio or financial aid, we'll be sure to get back to you quickly. And I think that's it. So we've got more activities coming. Next week, all the schools and colleges are going to be doing a whole bunch of programs like this about the various programs that we offer. And I know, Brooke and Lynn, we say to everybody, all of our friends, all of our family, please be safe in these times. And we can't wait to see you on campus in the fall. So stay healthy between now and then and keep watching. We have more activities coming at you. Okay, thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks, everybody.
Be well, everybody.